All right, let's just jump right into this. Welcome to today's explainer. We're diving deep into a rather intense piece of source material today, an analysis originally put together by MindRise Academy that claims to expose the deeply hidden layers of relationship dynamics. The source makes a pretty bold argument right out of the gate. The most dangerous thing in the world isn't poison or some kind of weapon. Nope, it's a person whose real face you can never see behind their smile. And according to this analysis, there are hidden mechanics operating just beneath the surface of relationship psychology that, well, people rarely talk about. So today, we're going to break down the 7 specific psychological secrets this source claims every guy absolutely needs to understand. Let's unpack exactly what they mean.
Now, what's really fascinating is how the source actually anchors this whole argument. They draw heavily on the philosophy of the legendary psychoanalyst Carl Jung. You might know him. Jung famously stated that every person has a face they show to the world and another they hide even from themselves. Well, the source material argues that women are absolute masters of this dual face artistry. According to their breakdown, the innocence and the smiles you see on the surface, they often hide calculation, deep desires, and sometimes even a kind of ruthless cunning. The whole premise here is that these 7 secrets are the dark realities kept hidden from you, mechanics designed to essentially use your energy until you're completely exhausted. So let's look at the very first of these hidden mechanics.
This brings us to secret number 1, which centers on a fundamental, ego-driven hunger for attention. The source poses a pretty simple scenario. Say she smiles at you, or she constantly asks you how she looks. Naturally, you'd probably assume it's because she's deeply interested in you, right? Well, the source claims this is a total illusion. The argument here is that this behavior actually isn't about you at all. It's about her feeding her own ego. Her true power, according to the analysis, relies on how many people are looking at her, desiring her, and praising her. It's kind of like why someone might check a single selfie 100 times before finally posting it. And this brilliantly illustrates the danger of that dynamic, at least as presented by the source. If you don't understand this constant hunger for attention, you stop being the lover, and you just become the audience. The analysis warns that giving a partner attention isn't inherently a bad thing, obviously, but giving excessive attention, that traps you. If you constantly feed this need, the source argues, she's just going to keep pulling from you, draining your energy and your resources. And the harsh conclusion they draw is that the second your energy is totally spent, she'll move on to the next source of attention without a single drop of remorse. Moving on to section 1, the mechanics of control, testing and manipulation. So, the second secret the source reveals revolves around this concept of continuous emotional testing. They claim that testing a partner is a habit that's just deeply ingrained in female psychology. For example, she might suddenly ignore you, mock you for absolutely no reason, or just take a random jab at your self-respect. According to the analysis, this isn't random. It's a calculated test. Tying it back to Carl Jung, the explainer uses his concept of the anima, this inner mechanism that tests a man's true strength against his fabricated facade. If you react with anger, or if you break down, she categorizes you as weak. But if you remain completely calm, you show true strength. The kicker here is that the source insists these tests literally never stop. You have to pass them every single time to maintain respect. Which leads us right into the 4th secret, and this one directly challenges your own perceived autonomy in a relationship. You might think you're making all these independent, free choices, but the source asks a very pointed, kind of uncomfortable question. Who actually planted the seed of that decision in your mind? The analysis breaks down the mechanics of this indirect manipulation into a really clear 4-step process. They argue that women rarely fight in direct, face-to-face confrontations. Instead, their weapons are emotional games, guilt trips, sudden silence, or tears. The claim is that she'll almost never directly order you to do something. Instead, step 1, she creates the environment. Step 2, she drops subtle hints. Step 3, she stirs up your emotions. And step 4, you take the action entirely on your own, fully believing it was your brilliant idea all along. The source once again quotes Carl Jung here, noting that a woman's true power is indirect influence. You might feel like you're the king of the castle, but according to this analysis, she's actually the one holding the reins to your crown. If you're blind to this game, the source warns you're slowly just becoming a puppet. Next up, section 2, the endless search, hypergamy, and the ease of moving on. Combining the 3rd and 6th secrets from the source, we've got to look at the modern dating landscape. The analysis argues that a woman's gaze is perpetually fixed upward. It's a concept often called hypergamy. Basically, she's fundamentally driven by a deep craving for security and survival, which means she is subconsciously always scanning for a man who is stronger, has higher status, or is simply quote-unquote better. And today, with hundreds of eyes on her social media, her options are incredibly abundant. Literally, a single photo or a quick smile can attract countless new options. The source claims this sheer abundance fuels the ease of moving on. You might think you're incredibly special to her, but the bitter truth presented here is that loyalty vanishes the moment a vastly superior option appears. To explain just how easily a partner can be replaced, the source leans on another Jungian perspective. The unconscious mind adapts very quickly. The analysis asserts that women possess a far greater capacity to just forget and move forward than men do. And the imagery they use is actually pretty stark. While the guy might be completely shattered, suffering in the past, losing sleep, shedding tears, she's already adapted and is smiling with someone entirely new. The source claims that changing a partner is honestly as easy for her as changing clothes. If you're no longer her top priority, you won't even keep a place in her memory. Section 3. The divided mind. Dual desires and the hidden core. This brings us to the fifth secret, dual desires. Now, the source argues that a woman's mind is constantly torn between two entirely different types of men. On one hand, she's magnetically pulled toward the passionate or dangerous man. This is the guy who offers madness, a racing heartbeat, and the thrill of total unpredictability. But on the other hand, she deeply craves the stable or safe man, the guy who acts as a protective wall and offers security and a reliable life. The analysis claims that because it's exceedingly rare for one single guy to embody both of these roles perfectly, her mind splits. She might passionately desire the dangerous man, but ultimately choose to settle down with the safe man, which leaves this lingering emptiness. And it's this internal division, the source argues, that ends up breaking so many men's hearts, because she can just never fully suppress that dual craving. All right, so we arrive at the seventh and final secret, a really profound Jungian concept known as the shadow. The source defines the shadow as this hidden, suppressed, and potentially greedy or ruthless core that exists within every woman. According to the analysis, she keeps this dark side heavily suppressed behind sweet smiles and soft words simply because society rewards her for being good. But the source warns that this is her absolute true face. The second circumstances change and her survival or self-interest dictates that it's profitable to reveal this darkness, the shadow comes out. The claim here is that when a woman suddenly becomes ice cold or abandons a partner, she hasn't actually changed at all. She's just finally allowed you to see the shadow she was hiding the entire time. Finally, Section 4, the takeaway. Empowerment over resentment. Okay, to really lock this in, let's do a rapid recap of the 7 psychological mechanics we just derived from the source. Number 1, the ego-driven hunger for attention. 2, the continuous emotional testing of your strength. 3, the constant upward search for a better option. 4, the subtle art of indirect manipulation. 5, the contradictory dual desires for danger and safety. 6, the surprising ease of moving on. And 7, the hidden, ruthless shadow core. The source states that knowing these bitter truths is basically the only way to shatter your illusions. But, and this is a massive but, here is the crucial caveat the source emphasizes, and it's incredibly important for how we digest all this info. They explicitly state that the goal of understanding these harsh realities is absolutely not to hate women. Not at all. Instead, it equals self-preservation. By objectively understanding these psychological mechanics, the analysis argues, you're protecting yourself from being played, broken, or used as just another stepping stone. It's all about knowing the game so you don't lose yourself inside it. The source delivers its final, really empowering message with this thought. The most valuable thing in this world is your self-respect, your mental strength, and your control over yourself. They urge you that once you learn to see people for their true unmasked selves, nobody can easily break you. It's a call to maintain firm boundaries, to really know your own worth, and to never, ever sacrifice your mental fortitude for an illusion. And that brings us to the end of today's explainer. The original analysis leaves its audience with an invitation to join their community, to uncover even more of these hidden, dark psychological truths that society usually keeps quiet about. But we want to leave you with a question to reflect on, based on the source material we've just unpacked. Now that this analysis claims to have shown you what lies behind the mask, how will you apply this understanding to protect your own peace and your self-respect? It is definitely something to think about.
Thanks for hanging out with me to explore this complex topic, and keep learning.